We have one last story in the book of Shoftim, the book of Judges, and it is not the best of the moments in Jewish history, one of the worst. And that's where we continue today with the 19th chapter, Vayhi Bayamim Hahem Umelech Ein B'Yisrael. Again, this phrase that we've had now a number of times in the last couple of chapters, there is no king in Israel. Vayish Levi Ger, Gar Biarkitei Har Ephraim. There was a Levite who lived in the hills of Ephraim. Remember, we talked about how much of what happens in this book happens in the land of Ephraim. He took a Pilegesh from Bethlehem in Yehuda. Pilegesh, sort of a quasi-wife, and that's what he took. Vatizne alav Pilag show. But his wife doesn't like him. And either it means, according to some commentaries, she deserted him. Usually Znut refers to somebody who has an affair, but she leaves him for sure. She goes home to her father, and she's in her father's house, back home not with her husband for 4 months. And so finally her husband gets up. He misses her. He wants to go to get her to come back. He's going to say nice things to her, to woo her back. And he has a associate with him, and he has with him also a pair of donkeys. He goes to her father's house. Father sees him, the husband, and he's overjoyed. Get her out of my house. Take her back. No, his father-in-law, he talks to him. He stays with his father-in-law for 3 days. And it seems very nice. They're eating, they're drinking. He stays there. And so on the 4th day, so we had 4 months she had left him for. He finally comes to get her, and now it's the 4th day that he has been in the house. He wakes up early. He wants to go back to his house in the hills of Ephraim. Says to him, no, eat something, and then you'll have strength. You'll be ready for a journey, and then you can leave. These words remind us of the hospitality of Avraham Avinu in the beginning of Parshat Vayera. These are similar words to that he says to the 3 Malachim, the 3 angels. Vayeshvu vayachlu shnehem yachdav, and they stay there and they eat together. Vayishtu, they drink. Vayomer Aviyanar Elisha el na belim vayitab libecha. He says, you already ate so much, so just stay overnight. But he wants to leave. It's enough. He wants to go home. And his father-in-law is urging him to stay. And finally he decides to spend the night there. It's now the 5th day. He wakes up early. He's ready to leave. His father says, no, still, have a bite, have something to eat. And they start sitting and they talk, they have good friendship, and it takes them till past noon. And this word here, we have again the hospitality here, but here we have this word hit mahamhu, which is a word that is also with the malachim. That is a word that's used by Yitmama with Lot in Sodom, where Lot and his family don't want to leave Sodom so quickly and so easily. So here he's delayed, but then he finally says it's time to leave. It's the middle of the 5th day, we got to get home. His father says, just wait, it's the 5th day, just wait until, it's already late, it's not so safe. So stay here, you can leave early tomorrow morning. The man said, it's enough, I wanted to leave on 2 days ago, we got to get out of here. And he goes and he travels and he gets near the territory of Yevus, which is also known as Jerusalem. And with him are a pair of donkeys and his concubine. Haim im Yavus, Hayom Radmo. They're getting close to Yavus, and it's getting dark. It's getting late. Vayomer Hanara Ladonav, and so right, he has this one associate says to him, L'chanav Nasurel Ir Hayavusi Azov Benalimba. He says, "This is Yavus. It's the territory of Yavusi. Let's go and stay there." Vayomer Elav Adonav. The master, the husband, Lo Nasurel Ir Nachri, says, "We're not going to go to a city of Gentiles. Asher lo mibnei Israel, Heina, who are not Israelites. Va'avarnu ad Giv'ah. Let's go to the Giv'ah, where there are members of our people, our co-religionists. Vayomer lenaro lech v'nikrava b'achat hamekovot." And so he says to this attendant, to this associate, let's approach one of the places in the Giv'ah. The lanu b'giv'ah v'raman. We'll be able to sleep then either in the Giv'ah or in Ramah, a different place, but not in one of the territories of the Yevusi, or one of the nations that's not a nation of Israel. We need to go to our fellow Jews. Vayavru, so they pass. Vayelchu vatavo lahem hashemesh. It's getting dark. The sun is setting. Eitzel hagiva asher leVinyamin. When they're near the Giv'ah, which is in the territory of Binyamin. Vayasuru sham lavo lalun ba'Giv'ah. They turn there and they go in to spend the night at the Giv'ah. Vayovo vayesha brachov ha'ir, and they go and they sleep in the streets of the city. The ein ishma seifotam habayit halalun, but nobody is coming out to say, "Come and sleep in our house." They're leaving them outside. The wolves, the jackals. I'm not sure if those things were there, but they're leaving them outside. Nobody is showing hospitality. I said earlier, Avraham Avinu, Sa'ad libcha, pat lechem, have a little bit of bread, and then of course Avram says a little and gives so much. I do not want to stay in the city of the Yavus. I want to stay in the city of Bnei Israel, where they're going to show me hospitality. But nobody comes to gather him, to give him a place to sleep. That one elderly man comes from the field, from his territory. The fields back then were outside the city. Va'ish mihar Ephraim, and he was from Ephraim as well. V'hugar b'giv'ah, much like this man, this husband, he was also from the hills of Ephraim, but he was living amongst the Binyaminites. And we're told the people in the territory were from the tribe of Benjamin. Vayisainav, another sort of Avraham. He lifts up his eyes, just like Avram lifts up his eyes and sees the three Malachim, or Avram later lifts up his eyes and sees the ram in the thickets, Vayar, and he sees Etaisha Orech Brachov, he sees the man there in the streets of the city. He's on his phone. He's looking for a hotel to stay in. Everything is booked. And thus, Vayomer Aisha Zakein Ana Telechu Me'ayin Tavo. The old man says, "What are you doing here, right? Where are you going? Where are you coming from?" Vayomer Elav Ovrim Anachnu Beit Lechem Yudad Yarketei Har Ephraim Misham Anochi Ve'elecha Beit Lechem Yudah Beit Adonai Ani Holech Ve'nishma Sefo Tia Baita. He said, "We're traveling from Bethlehem to the hills of Ephraim, where I live. I made a journey to Bethlehem, and now I'm on my way to the house of God. Right? I want to go to thank God for the fact that I got my wife back, or whatever it might be. But nobody is welcoming me home nobody's showing me hachnasat orchim. The gam teben, gam mispo yesh lacham morenu, the gam lechem, the yayin yesh li v'lamatchav lanar imavo decha, a machzor kol davar." So he says, we have straw, we have food for our donkeys, we have bread and wine. We don't need anything. We just need a place to sleep. We're not asking you to feed me. The old man says, "Don't worry, I will take care of you. Just you come and spend the night with me. Don't spend the night in the town square." Vayavihu leveito vayaval lachamorim v'erchutzu raglehem v'echlu v'yishtu. So they go home. He, gets food ready for the donkeys. They go. They take a bath. They wash their feet. They eat. They drink. Hema meitivim et libam. So here they are, they're enjoying themselves, making in the word tov. Vine anshe ha'ir anshe v'nei blial nasobu et habayit mitdafkim al hadat. Everything seems fine until some men of the town, B'nai Vlial, this is a phrase that we're going to have a number of times. We've had it before. We're going to have it a number of times um, here in the book of Judges and in the book of Samuel, and it denotes people who are of base character. Literally means beli ol. They have no yoke. They have nobody is holding them down. They are demonstrating anarchy, a lack of law, a lack of kindness, a lack of decency. And they gather around the house and they're pounding on the door. This is not a simple little knock, this is pounding. That man who came to your house, bring him outside so that we can know him. And this is Yada in the biblical sense. We're not going to ask him where he's from and play some Jewish geography. We are going to sleep with him. And since they're not giving him a choice, we are going to rape him. And the old man comes out and he says, "What are you talking about, my friends? Don't do such a terrible thing. This man has entered my house. You can't do this. This is an outrage." And he says, "Hine viti habtula pilat shehu utziana otam ba'anu otam ba'asu lahem atov b'nechem ulishazel lo tased davar hanivala hazot." And he said, "Look, here is my unmarried daughter, and here is his concubine. We'll bring them out to you and do as you please with them, but don't do this terrible thing to this man." And this, of course, sounds exactly like the story of Lot in Sodom, where the people of Sodom, they want the angels, they don't know they're angels, and Lot says, "You cannot have them. They've come to my house," and he offers his daughters as well. And of course, they're angels. They go out and they blind the people, and everything turns out fine. But here we don't have any angels. We have a lawless society. There's Elimelech Israel. However, in this story, the men refused to listen to him. But the men would not listen. And so the man took his concubine and he pushed her out to them. See, maybe this is the reason why she left. And they raped her and they abused her all night long until the morning. This is a gang rape and a horrific one. And it's taking place outside this man's house. And remember, this man, this husband who was traveling back from Beit Lechem to the hills of Ephraim, he purposely says, "I will not stop in the city of the Yevus. I need to go to a city, B'nai Yisrael." And this is what happens. And verse 26 in the morning, Vatavo ha'isha lifnot haboker, vatipol petach beit ha'isha sherad b'nei Hashem ad ha'ol. The woman is starting to come back in the morning, and the sunrise is coming, and she collapses outside of the house where her husband was. And her husband wakes up in the morning. He opens up the doors. He's ready to go home like nothing happens. And he looks out, and there is his wife lying at the entrance of the house with her hands on the threshold. And she was say, he says to her, Kumi v'nelcha li'ein oneh. He says to her, "Get up, it's time to go." But she does not answer him. Vayikacheha ala chamor. He puts her on the donkey. Vayakam ha'ish vayelech limkomo. And he goes home. So we have here a story, other than a scholar that I know who opines that she was still alive. There is a murder, a gang rape, and this is in the territory of Binyamin. This is where this happens, and it's a horrific story. El Beito, he gets home. He takes his knife. The Pilag show, and he takes hold of his concubine, and he cuts her into 12 pieces. He sends those 12 pieces all over the territories of Israel. Amar lo nihita velo nirata kazot limiyom alot b'nei Yisrael meretz Mitzrayim ad hayom hazeh simu lachem alu utzu v'dabe. And the people, when they see a leg, an arm, a head, he says, never. People's response is, never has such a thing happened. Never has such a thing been done in Israel from the time that we came out of Egypt. So now we have to decide what it is that we need to. And presumably there's some note attached to it that says, this is my wife's been cut up. She was raped by the people of Binyamin, and she was killed in the process. And here is a piece of her body. And obviously the symbol, 12 pieces, 12 tribes of Israel. We need to be a united people, but the people of Binyamin have killed us and have broken up into pieces. And that's the first part of this horrendous story in chapter 19. We will continue with it the next chapter.